There are some fears that live far away in dark woods or abandoned places. But the most chilling terrors? They can live right beside you, just beyond the fence, across the street, or through a shared wall. Sometimes, the scariest nightmares aren't in your head. They're happening next door. You hear them, you sense them, and you can't look away. These are stories of the dread that lives just a stone's throw away, of the things that happen when the lights go out in the house next to yours, and you realize you might be the only one who knows. It was the old Miller place, sat empty for years, paint peeling, windows like vacant eyes. Then, someone bought it. A single man, they said. Nobody ever saw him. But the house changed. Not the outside that stayed the same decaying shell. It was the feeling it gave off, a heavy, watchful presence. At night, you'd see a faint light in different rooms. Not like a lamp, more like a pale, shifting glow. It moved slowly, deliberately. Then came the sounds. Not loud, but persistent. A low scraping, like something being dragged across floorboards, followed by a soft thud. My dog would whine, hackles raised, staring at the fence line. He wouldn't bark, just a low, guttural growl deep in his chest. He was afraid. One evening, I was in my backyard after dark. I glanced over at the Miller house. Every single window facing me had that pale glow. And I felt it. A cold, intense stare. It wasn't just the house watching. Something inside was looking directly at me. I froze, unable to move. The air grew heavy, thick with a silent pressure. It felt like being hunted. The scraping sound started again, louder this time. It seemed to be coming from the room closest to the fence, right on the other side. I finally broke free, scrambling back inside my house. I locked the doors, pulled the blinds tight. But I knew it was still there. Watching from the dark windows. Waiting. And the sounds continued, a constant reminder of the unseen thing living just feet away. New neighbors moved in across the street. A young couple, seemed nice enough. They had a little girl, maybe 5 years old. She was quiet, with wide, observant eyes. Sometimes I'd see her sitting on their porch steps, just staring. Not at anything in particular, just staring. One afternoon, she wandered over while I was getting the mail. She didn't say hello, she just looked up at me. Her eyes were unsettlingly blank. Then she spoke, her voice a flat monotone. "He doesn't like it when we scream." I blinked, confused. "Who doesn't like screaming, sweetie?" I asked gently. She didn't answer my question. She just tilted her head slightly. "He puts us in the quiet room when we're loud." A chill went down my spine. "The quiet room?" She nodded slowly. "It's dark and cold, and sometimes he sings." She paused, her gaze fixed on something behind me. "His singing isn't pretty," she whispered. "It sounds like crying, but backwards." I tried to ask her more, but she just turned and walked back across the street. She didn't look back. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things. The little girl rarely played outside. The house always seemed still. Sometimes, late at night, I thought I heard muffled sounds, like something being pressed against a wall, or a faint, distorted melody. I saw the little girl again a month later. She was sitting on the porch swing, rocking back and forth. She looked thinner. She saw me and gave a small, vacant wave. Then she pointed towards her house. "He's singing now," she said too loudly. Her mother rushed out immediately, grabbing the girl's arm roughly. She shot me a tight, forced smile. "Sorry, she has an active imagination." She pulled the girl inside quickly. As the door closed, I heard the girl whimper. And then, silence. The house remained silent. Too silent. I never heard the singing again, or the muffled sounds. But I still see the little girl sometimes, sitting on the porch, just staring. And her eyes are still blank. My neighbor, old Mr. Henderson, was a strange man, kept to himself, rarely spoke. His house was old, built on a stone foundation with a large, dark basement. He spent a lot of time down there. I'd see him carrying things in and out. Heavy sacks, oddly shaped bundles wrapped in tarps, always late at night. Sometimes I'd hear a low, rhythmic thumping coming from his basement. Not like music, more like something heavy hitting the ground, over and over. It usually started around midnight and went on for hours. It wasn't loud enough to complain about, but it was persistent and deeply unsettling. One night, the thumping stopped abruptly, replaced by a wet gurgling sound, followed by a choked cry. My blood ran cold. I stood by my window, listening intently. Silence. Then, the scraping started. It sounded like something being dragged across concrete, slow, heavy, uneven. It moved towards the back of the basement. I couldn't sleep. The silence after the sounds was worse than the sounds themselves. It felt like the air was holding its breath. The next morning, Mr. Henderson was outside, hosing down his basement door. The water ran red into the storm drain. He saw me watching and just stared with his usual blank expression. He didn't wave, didn't smile, just stared. He finished cleaning and went back inside. The thumping didn't start again that night, or the next. A few days later, I saw him carrying another heavy, tarp-wrapped bundle out of his basement. He loaded it into the trunk of his car. He drove away, and I didn't see him for a week. When he returned, he looked tired, but the strangest thing was the smell. A faint metallic odor seemed to cling to him, and to the air around his house. It was the smell of something wrong. The thumping eventually started again. The scraping returned. The sounds from Mr. Henderson's basement became a regular part of the night. I never called the police. What would I say? My neighbor makes strange noises and hoses down his basement door. It sounded crazy. But I know what I heard, and I know what I smelled. And every night, when the thumping starts, I lie awake, wondering what exactly is happening in the dark, damp space just below my neighbor's house, and what he's doing with those bundles.